All right, ladies and gentlemen, anything to report from the break?
May I approach?
You may. Anyone else have anything to report? All right, very good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time I want to read an instruction to you, so if you'll just pay close attention. You shall draw no inference from the fact that Jon Mattingly did not testify. He was unavailable to either party. You shall draw no inference from the fact that Myles Cosgrove did not testify in person. He was not available to either party. His testimony will be presented by video deposition from another proceeding, which was conducted on May 26 of 2021. He was under oath at that time. All right.
Your Honor, they're broken up into the clips that you permitted, so I will play one, play another, and play another. They are not all the way through.
Okay. And you understand that what I sent you was to be excluded, so.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. Morning. Good morning. Mr. Cosgrove, my name's Steve Romines. Mr. Moore and I represent Kenneth Walker in this case. You ever done a deposition?
No.
Okay. Sworn testimony, like you've testified in court before, correct?
Yes.
Only difference is that we don't have a judge here and court reporter's taking it down rather than video. Okay? Now, by it not being on video, head nods, uh-uhs are harder for the court reporter to understand, so answer the questions verbally with yes, no, explain however you want to do it, okay?
I understand.
If anything I ask you that you don't understand, just ask me to rephrase it, okay?
Yes.
We ever had a case together?
I think so.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yes.
All right, could you please state your name for the record and spell it for the court reporter?
It is Myles Cosgrove, Myles with a Y, M-Y-L-E-S, Cosgrove, C-O-S-G-R-O-V-E.
And let's go off the record. All right, what's your current employment, Mr. Cosgrove?
I'm not employed right now.
Okay. How long were you with LMPD?
Approximately 15 years.
Okay. In various different roles?
Correct.
Okay. What are the SOPs? Just what
are they
generally speaking,
They
what's
are
SOPs?
rules and regulations, operating procedures.
That you're supposed to follow?
Correct.
Are you required to be familiar with them?
Yes.
And are you ever tested or certified on them?
You're not tested on them, no. You are you sign off on them as they're updated throughout the year.
Okay. When, going into March 12th of 2020, when would have been the last time you personally reviewed the SOPs?
I don't know. SOPs are you are given your SOPs in the academy as all of them, and then throughout your career you are given SOP updates and familiarization throughout your career. So there is no review time per se.
When would be the last time that you would have reviewed an SOP about search warrant, execution of search warrants?
I don't know that answer.
Same with body cams. When the last time you would have reviewed one of those?
Correct. I wouldn't know that.
Okay. Now, when is it your understanding that it's permissible to deviate from the SOPs?
Well, SOPs are most of them are a generalization of what you should and shouldn't do. I can't really give you an exact example, but there are times when you need to deviate from set rules and regulations. It could be for exigent circumstances, it could be for something that you or the department isn't familiar with, something that has never happened before. It would have to be something that hadn't been thought of before,
Okay.
for the most part.
So, and exigent circumstances, and that could include public safety or officer safety.
Correct, yes.
All right, and then something that's not covered by them.
Correct,
Other than that, though, you're supposed to follow them.
yes.
Had you ever worked with PBI prior to March 12th of 2020?
No, sir.
So this was the first time, had you worked with any of the officers in PBI?
Yes, PBI was a new unit, so yes, I had worked with them in other aspects prior
To it becoming PBI?
to PBI, correct.
Okay. Who had you worked with?
Sergeant Kyle Meany, Mike Campbell, and Josh James. That's it.
But once they became PBI, you had never worked with that specific unit.
Correct.
What was your unit at the time on March 12th of 2020?
I'd only been in that unit for a few months. What the heck was it? It was called
CID?
CID, Criminal Interdiction Unit. Yeah. That's narcotics. That was the new name of narcotics.
Okay, the new name of narcotics was CID?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. Or was it a division of narcotics as a whole?
Shoot, I don't remember.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, I'd only been in the new transition for a few months, so I wasn't concentrating on names.
Okay. What what jobs were you primarily performing in March of 2020?
Mid-level drug dealers, complaints, mid to low-level complaints and drug dealers.
Okay. Not parcels or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Now, did you have any role in the investigation of Jamarcus Glover?
No, I didn't have any role.
Did you have any idea who Jamarcus Glover was
No, I didn't.
until you went to the briefing that night?
I wouldn't say I knew who he was at the briefing. I was just told of the name and whatnot. So to who he was, no. The name, yes.
So had no role in the investigation at all?
Correct, no role.
No role in the preparation of the search warrant?
Correct, no role.
No role in the threat matrix?
Correct, no role in that
Did you
either.
ever see it?
That threat matrix, no. I have seen the threat matrix, the form, but not that evening's
For
threat
Springfield.
matrix. Correct, I have not seen that one.
Okay, so didn't see it before the search warrant
Correct,
was executed, didn't see it at the briefing,
correct,
never saw it any time.
correct.
Did you have any idea who Breonna Taylor was?
No,
Did you have any idea who Janiyah Palmer was?
no,
That she lived at that address that you guys were executing a search warrant on?
no,
What about who Kenny Walker was? Did you have any idea who he was?
no, I had no idea who any of those folks were.
Had any idea that Kenny Walker was at the residence that you guys were executing a search warrant on?
No,
Did you have any idea if Jamarcus Glover was actually there, going to be there or not?
no.
So it sounds like you didn't really know anything about what was going on at 303 Springfield when you guys went to execute this search warrant.
No, I knew what was happening, or I knew the plan, but I did not know the occupants or the targets that we were going after, if that makes sense.
Okay. What is a surveillance officer's job?
A surveillance officer's job is to report, obviously, what they surveil or what they see to parties that have an interest in what we're doing.
So-
They need to report who, what, when, where, to the folks that need the information in a timely manner.
So if you're executing a search warrant and you have a surveillance officer observing the location, one of the things one of their jobs is to convey the information timely to the people executing the search warrant.
Yes.
Of who's there.
Well, they may not know who is there, but bodies that are there, correct?
If they, yeah, not the actual persons, but if 5 people are there, they're supposed to convey that to you.
Correct.
If one person's there, they're supposed to convey that to you.
Yes.
If people leave, they're supposed to convey that to you.
Yes.
And people arrive, they're supposed to convey that.
Correct.
Okay. Was any of that information ever conveyed to you or the individuals executing the search warrant?
I was told that there was one individual at the apartment, which would have been the female, Breonna Taylor.
And as we
Or
learned,
it was described, I remember it as a heavy-set female as at the apartment.
okay, and that, you learned that in the briefing?
Correct.
But, and as we now know, there was more than one person there
Yes.
and had arrived that evening.
At some point, yes.
But that was never conveyed by the surveillance officer who was watching the location.
Correct.
Uh,
Not to me, but yes.
Well, and as you, one of the people executing this search warrant, if that information is conveyed to anyone on the team, it should be conveyed to everyone executing the search warrant.
Yes, it should. Immediately, yes.
Because executing a search warrant really is one of the most dangerous things that law enforcement can do.
It is inherently dangerous, yes.
It's inherently
Yes.
dangerous. And if you don't have proper intel, it's even more dangerous.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And if you don't know who's in the location, it's even more dangerous.
Yes.
If you don't have an accurate threat matrix, it's even more dangerous.
Yes.
If it's not planned properly, it's even more dangerous.
Yes.
And if you have a combination of multiple factors, such as we just mentioned, poor planning, poor threat matrix, poor intelligence, poor surveillance, that makes it even more dangerous.
I would say poor planning and all those things that you listed make it inherently dangerous. I'm not agreeing that that evening those facts were poorly planned and whatnot. But yes.
We'll cover that.
But factors that are overlooked for any plan can make it more dangerous, yes.
So if certain, you don't have to concede at this point that these things happen. We'll just talk about them. If surveillance is improperly performed or poorly done, that makes it more dangerous.
Yes.
If intelligence is improperly performed and poorly done, that makes it more dangerous.
Yes, it does.
If the planning of the actual stack and raid is improperly or poorly done, that makes it more dangerous.
Yes.
If the threat matrix is inaccurate or improperly done, that makes it more dangerous.
Yes.
And you combine all of these various factors that make something that's inherently dangerous even more dangerous, it gets to be pretty foreseeable that something bad could happen, doesn't it? You can answer.
If you're overlooking dangerous factors that you're saying, yes, it would continue to exponentially make what you're doing more dangerous.
And there comes a point when if you continue to stack one thing after another, that it becomes likely that something bad's going to happen, or definitely foreseeable.
It would compound an error, yes.
Now, you've indicated that you were told to assist in the execution of this search warrant.
Correct. I volunteered to assist in working that night. I was assigned a task.
Now, did you volunteer via email or sign up, or how did that work?
I don't remember exactly, but it would have been one of those ways.
Okay. Now, you previously indicated in your interview with PIU that all of CID was told to assist.
Well, I believe that's all on overtime. They can't make you work overtime, so that may have been a mischaracterization, but they,
You start right there, just to see if that refreshes your recollection, or you can correct it, or how you want to do it. 1:30.
okay, my fault. Well, this is saying that I was told to go to the roll call room, not that I was told to assist in the actual voluntary of the incident.
So you were not told to assist in the execution of the search warrant, you volunteered?
Correct, yes, sir.
All right. Okay, let's just cover exactly what you said in your interview. You started so at approximately.
Sorry, what are we reading from?
Is an interview from PIU,
PIU.
starting at line 132, so approximately.
So at approximately 10 o'clock, we were told to, all of the narcotics or CID was told to meet in the roll call room to assist unintelligible unit with several. We were, sorry. With unit with several warrants that they were briefing.
Now, is that what is in your interview?
Correct. I'm saying that I was told to go to the roll call room to participate in the brief.
Okay, so you weren't told to assist the unintelligible unit. Presumably that's PBI.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. You say, so at approximately 10 o'clock, we were told all of the narcotics or CID was told to meet in the roll call room to assist the unit with several warrants that they were briefing.
Correct. So I'm in an office space, and I'm being told to go to a briefing room. I'm being told to move from one location to another location to attend the brief.
So you weren't told to assist in the execution of these warrants, you were just told to go to the briefing room.
Correct.
All right. Now, how did you volunteer to assist in the execution of these warrants?
I don't remember exactly, but it's typically email or verbal, voluntary, or through phone call.
And who conducted the briefing?
I'm really bad with names. So the female officer, Kelly Hanna, and Wes Barton were the folks that I remember as having a role, a speaking role in the briefing room.
So you don't recall Josh James conducting the briefing?
Correct, I don't.
You recall anybody else speaking at the briefing?
No.
What was covered at the briefing?
It's a big question. They're covering all the locations we're going to. They're covering the targets. They're covering individual unit responsibilities. They're covering timelines.
Did they cover who was in charge?
Of the entire brief, I don't remember that. I know they would, on your stack it is covered who's in charge, or on your particular assignment.
Okay, who was in charge of your particular assignment?
Lieutenant Sean Hoover.
Okay. Is that reflected in the briefing on the whiteboard?
I'm not sure. I would think so, as the order of, I'd have to look at that photograph, I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll show you in just a minute. down here to the lead detective's obligations. What does that indicate?
2631 lead detective. Prior to serving the search warrant, the lead detective may request assistance from the tactical operations team with videotaping the location unless exigent circumstances exist. The lead detective is also responsible for the following.
Keep going.
Number 1, notification of a supervisor. 2, completion of the search warrant matrix or risk assessment matrix. Number 3, completion of the search warrant checklist. Number 4, completion of an operation plan. 5, securing the approval of the operation plan. 6, entering pertinent information about the search warrant location in the HIDTA, HIDTA, which is HIDTA deconfliction software. And 7, being present at the pre-service briefing.
Okay. Now, to your understanding, who is the lead detective in this case?
PBI Josh James.
Okay. And he was not present at the pre-service briefing, correct?
I don't remember him being there, correct?
Okay. Are you aware if the information was entered into regarding the search warrant location, entered into the HIDTA deconfliction software?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Are you aware of the operation plan being approved by a supervisor?
The operations plan could be construed as the whiteboard. The operations plan, even for me, would have been the whiteboard, and there are commanders there. So I would say yes, that is, from how I'm looking at it, yes, that has been approved.
Are you aware of a requirement of a written operations plan?
Yes, there is a requirement for a written document.
And that wasn't done, was it?
Not that I know of.
Okay. So the requirement for the SOPs requires a written operations plan to be done before a search warrant is executed, correct?
Correct. But folks in the briefing are not, it's not pertinent information that you're given.
Okay. My question was, the standard operating procedures for the execution of a search warrant, which we've established is inherently dangerous, requires a written operations plan.
Yes, it does.
And that was not performed, was it?
I don't know.
You never
All
saw
I
it.
know is, correct, all I saw was the whiteboard information.
And according to both narcotics as well as the general LMPD's SOP, writing it on a whiteboard is not permitted as a substitute for a written operations plan, is it?
That's a yes and no question for me, because you may have a warrant that needs to be done quickly. So your operations plan may be written on the windshield of a car with a marker. And then later on, you go back and you type up your document per se. But I don't know if that was done that evening.
Okay. Well, do you have any reason to believe that a search warrant that contained information from January 16th, 2020, and was executed on March 13th of 2020 had to be done immediately?
No, yes, that should have been done within that time frame.
It should have been done. It's required to be done. To your knowledge, it wasn't done.
Correct, I don't know if it was done, yes.
Okay. And while we're talking about it, we'll look at the general LMPD's preparation for search warrant. And I've highlighted for you there. Yeah.
It's gonna be exhibits.
They will be. This will be exhibit 2. I know. Narcotics is one.
Two copies there.
Yep. What does that indicate?
8-1,
He actually looking at.
He is looking at Standard Operating Procedure, SOP 8.1, search warrants. And he's looking specifically at 8.1.17, preparation for search warrant execution. Go ahead, you read it.
1.17 preparation for search warrant execution. The highlighted area, the lead officer will complete a search warrant operation plan form LMPD 050025. Prior to the warrant service, the on-scene commander will act as the incident commander for service of the search warrant, and the incident command system will be implemented and followed. The IC incident commander will conduct a briefing with all search team personnel. This briefing will include 1, a review of the operations and procedures that the search personnel will follow. 2, analysis of conditions at the premises utilizing maps, charts, diagrams, appropriate tactics and equipment that are being used in the event of forced entry, a pre-planned hospital route.
Okay. Now, this is, again, these can be disregarded under exigent circumstances or public safety,
Yes.
right?
Well, no. Those all need to be done in some form. If you don't do those things, then in some form they have to be done prior to doing anything. Exigent circumstances or not.
Okay, and the search warrant operations plan that is required by policy has an actual specific form, doesn't it?
Yes, the operations plan, yes, has a tracking or a form number, yes.
Yeah. Because, again, we're talking about something that is inherently dangerous.
Correct.
And there are several policies and procedures put in place to try to make it less dangerous.
Yes.
And one of those is the search warrant operations plan.
Yes.
And a specific form that has to be filled out before a search warrant is executed.
Typically, yes, that form would be filled out unless there were mitigating circumstances that wouldn't allow it for the time.
Yeah, exigent circumstances or public safety.
Correct.
And again, none of those exist in this search warrant, do they?
I don't have knowledge of that.
So we know that wasn't performed, the search warrant operations plan. The on-scene commander will act as incident commander. Who's that?
The on-scene commander typically is the first person on scene. For a warrant, for a search warrant, it would be the person with the most, it would be the person whose warrant it is, because they have the most information.
Okay, and that would be Josh Jennings.
Not necessarily. Someone who is giving the briefing may have as much information that John had, that
James has.
that James has.
Okay,
correct.
now, we just covered in the narcotics SOPs, the lead detective, who is James,
Correct.
is required to be at the briefing.
That's what that says, yes. There are mitigating circumstances. His supervisor could have approved it, but typically a lead detective, someone who has intimate knowledge with what you're about to do, typically gives a brief.
Well,
And I, again, may be incorrect that he was in there or not.
so you think he might have been there?
There was a lot of people in there.
You just don't
I just
recall seeing
I
him?
don't recall him being in there, correct?
And you don't recall him doing the brief?
Correct.
However, again, under the narcotics division's own internal policies, the lead detective is required to be present at the brief.
According to that, yes.
Okay. Well, this is the narcotics division's own policies, isn't it?
Yes, but we agreed earlier that policies can be changed for certain reasons. And again, if Josh had something that had to be done and other individuals have that same intimate knowledge of what's happening, it would be appropriate for them to give information to the folks in the briefing room.
So if there's a public safety issue that Josh is dealing with, or there's exigent circumstances that require him to not be present, then obviously the SOP can be ignored.
I'm going to object to this entire line of questioning. SOPs and the narcotics documents speak for themselves. This witness has already testified that he had no role in planning, preparing this warrant. Calls for speculation. Other witnesses with knowledge, this witness doesn't have it.
Objection noted. All right, you will, is it your testimony that even without exigent circumstances or public safety issues, that this requirement that the lead detective be present at the briefing can be ignored?
Yes, yes, it can be. There are other reasons that would have to be between that unit and those supervisors on why individuals aren't there.
Okay. What are those other reasons?
Same objection, I just does not acknowledge.
No, I mean, if you.
What are other reasons?
Yeah, you think there's other reasons, what are they?
There could be vital intelligence that he needs to convey to other people. There could be other intelligence that he needs to report to other, like SWAT, for instance. Maybe he has to tell other units very vital, important information. I can come up with scenarios, but I don't really know the answer to that question.
There are none listed in any of the SOPs other than exigent circumstances and public safety. You can't just ignore them because you want to, can you?
No, correct.
And and again, as we established earlier, they are put in place for specific reasons,
Yes.
and they are best practices.
Yes.
And one of the reasons there are so many SOPs concerning the execution of search warrants is because it's inherently dangerous.
Yes, it is.
And the SOPs are designed to make it as safe as possible.
Correct.
And when they are ignored or disregarded, it becomes less safe.
Yes.
Now, as we just covered with this document here, okay, which is the LMPD's SOPs, okay, at 8.117.
I don't have that. Okay, I got you.
Preparation for search warrant. 8.1.17.
Credibility.
0.17. Second.
I got you.
There you go.
Field operations preparation.
Preparation for search warrant. In the first paragraph, what is the last sentence in the first paragraph?
The lead officer will complete a search warrant operations plan, form number 05002.
And as we just covered, Josh James was the lead officer, to your understanding.
Correct.
And there is a specific search warrant operations plan form that LMPD has prepared.
Yes.
And it's required, there's nothing in this SOP that says we'll complete a search warrant operations plan form if he so chooses, or at his discretion. It's required, isn't it?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, it was not done in this case.
I don't know if it was done or if it wasn't done or when it was done. Correct.
You never saw one.
Correct.
And in the next paragraph, prior to the warrant service, the on-scene commander will act as incident commander. And we just talked about, your understanding would be that would be Josh or that would be Hoover?
So prior to the search warrant, the on-scene commander will act as the incident commander for service of the search warrant, and the incident command center will be implemented. So prior to the search warrant, we are in the office. So the on-scene commander, the incident commander would be Josh or whoever is giving the briefing.
Okay.
Whoever I'm being told is in charge of these warrants.
Okay. The IC will conduct a briefing with search team personnel. The briefing will include a review of operations and procedures that the search personnel will follow.
Correct.
Did that occur?
Yes, there was a briefing, and there is There is a plan that is discussed in the briefing.
What was the plan discussed?
That's a really big question, because there's multiple locations, so
I'm
it's,
talking about on your team.
which part of the plan, like the entire
Yeah,
plan?
how you're gonna make entry, if entry's required, who's carrying the ram, who's first, who's got the ballistic shield, all these things. What
That-
was covered?
Part of that was covered in the briefing room, and then part of that was covered in the parking lot prior to going to the location.
Okay, which part was covered in the briefing room?
Who would be there, the who, what, when, where, and why. The particular jobs, like the VO job, the administrative jobs that we're gonna do. Who is in charge.
And who was in charge? Who did they say was in charge?
Lieutenant Hoover is the highest ranking person there, so he would be in charge.
Okay. Now, was that changed during the course of the briefing?
Of who was in charge?
Uh-huh.
No.
And you indicated what's covered is the who, what, when, where, and why.
Correct.
What was the what?
The what would be the location or what we're looking for.
Okay.
That's just a generality that I'm saying. You want as much information as you can before you leave that room.
And that would be who's there, who all's there,
Correct.
layout of the place.
Yes, you'd want all intelligence that the briefing team has conveyed to you prior to you leaving that room.
And that would be valid, legitimate intelligence, not stuff that's incorrect.
Correct. Yes, you would not want incorrect information.
Because that makes it even more dangerous. Having no intelligence is not as bad as having incorrect intelligence.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And as we learn in this case, believing there's one female there, when that's the intelligence you're given, becomes even more dangerous when you subsequently find out that there's another male there.
Incorrect intelligence is dangerous. Multiple parties at a residence exponentially increase the danger.
And again, you guys did not understand or were not advised that there were multiple parties there, did you?
Correct.
And not having that information made this situation more dangerous.
Yes, it can.
It did in this case, didn't it?
Correct, yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 3, which is a picture of the whiteboard. Yeah. Now, do you see Springfield on that?
Yes.
Okay. And you indicated, no, I'm not done yet. I'm going to ask you some more questions about that. Okay. Who is listed under Springfield?
Sergeant Mattingly, Mike Campbell, Nobles, I'm not sure how to say this name, but Dorr, James King, Cosgrove, Hankinson, and Franklin, who is a dog. Or
Okay.
what is it?
Now, you indicated that you all were advised that Hoover was the incident commander.
Correct.
Sure. Sorry. Hoover was the incident commander. And also, I asked you, was the board changed over the course of the briefing? You indicated no, not to your knowledge. Hoover's not on Exhibit 3, is he?
Correct. I don't know when this was taken though. But no, he is not on this picture, or in this picture.
And Josh Dorr, didn't go to the scene, did he?
Correct.
And Colin King didn't go to the scene, did he?
Correct.
So the search warrant operations plan, or whatever this is supposed to be on the board, isn't even accurate, is it? It's not accurate, is it?
Correct. Those individuals did not go with us.
Okay. So, and even if this is the information contained in the briefing, what's on this board, again, we're operating on stuff that's not correct.
Well, search warrants and police work it's flexible, it's always changing. But these folks were not at the location.
Okay.
So it is
It's not accurate.
it is not accurate.
Okay. And I'll show you what's been marked as Exhibit 4, which is a different picture of the same board. Now, what do you see that's different about it?
Sure. It is different in that Lieutenant Hoover has been added to the bottom.
Okay.
And that's it, just Lieutenant Hoover's been added to the bottom.
Okay. Has Noble's name been changed?
There's no K in Nobles on this picture here, or on this picture here.
Yeah. Exhibit 3, Nobles was spelled with a K, and Exhibit 4, Nobles was spelled with an N.
Correct.
Okay, so at some point in time, somebody made changes to these whiteboard that we're using as a search warrant operations plan.
Again, police work is very flexible. I don't know if I've ever been to a briefing where they have not changed the whiteboard as they're giving the brief for whatever reason.
Is the search warrant operations plan form, LMPD 050025, allowed to be changed whenever?
I don't know.
And we don't know if it was in this case or not because we've never seen one, have we?
Correct.
And there's no exemption, as we covered already, for writing on the whiteboard being a replacement for the search warrant operations plan, is there, Judge?
The operations plan needs to be completed at some point.
And not completing it makes the situation more dangerous.
The operations plan, this is my operations plan. When I go to the briefing, this is my operations plan.
Okay. Does any of this, either one of these pictures, reflect who's on the RAM?
No, no.
Does it reflect where the people are in the stack?
No, this is just a list that is put on the board, and the incident commander or someone in this group will, you guys will have your side brief, because you may not know the strengths and weaknesses of each team member until you have your parking lot meeting, or what I call a parking lot meeting.
Okay, is that always done? Parking lot meeting?
To some extent, yes. Yes. You may want to walk through or rehearse or double check equipment. So yes, in some form.
Was there any walkthrough done in the parking lot in this case?
We had a meeting, for lack of a better word, in the church parking lot off of in the church
St.
parking
Andrew's
lot,
Church.
St. Andrew's Church area over there. So yes, we had a parking lot brief.
Was there a walkthrough done?
No, and when I mean walkthrough, I'm meaning, you're making sure you got if you have the RAM, well then you should have it in your hand. Like an equipment check, a familiarization. You make sure that everybody that's supposed to be on your team is with you in this parking lot. You're like kind of walking through what's happening and who's with you.
Okay. And do you discuss who's where in the stack as you're going in?
Yes, those assignments would be determined after this briefing with the folks you're working with.
Okay, is that where everybody's role in the entry of the search warrant covered in the briefing that was done in this case at CID, or in your parking lot meeting?
It could be, but I remember it as our role was occurring in the parking lots.
Okay, so it was not covered in the briefing?
I don't believe it was, no.
Okay, so it was just going to be up to you guys when you had your second meeting to determine who does what, everyone's role.
Correct.
Okay. Now's the time.
Off the record at 10:57. Back in the record at 11:04.
I think where we stopped, we were talking about the briefing at headquarters versus, and we'll use the phrase parking lot briefing, and what's covered in each of them. And I'll show you again, you've got in front of you the LMPD's SOPs. Go to 8.1.17.
Okay.
And we covered the lead officer will complete a search warrant operations plan, which wasn't done. The on-scene commander will act as the incident commander for the service of the search warrant. And the incident command system will be implemented and followed. What is that?
The incident command system is a command and control. So typically it's the first person on scene who is in charge, and then as more folks arrive, that command structure starts to fluctuate based on either experience or rank.
Okay, so is that not determined at the briefing, or who's in charge of a search warrant execution? Or is it just whoever the next highest ranking guy is?
Can you say that again?
Okay, what I'm trying to determine is, was the incident commander determined when you all left the briefing room, or did you all determine that in the parking lot?
No, that is predetermined based on Lieutenant Hoover's rank.
Okay, so he was the incident commander.
Yes.
All right. And it says, if you keep reading there on the second paragraph, the IC will conduct a briefing with search team personnel.
Correct.
Now, that would be Lieutenant Hoover.
Yes.
Did he conduct the parking lot briefing?
Yes. A parking lot briefing is conducted by someone who is has rank and experience. A parking lot briefing is where you get your assignments and then you talk it through.
Okay.
So yes, that was conducted.
And what assignment were you given? Were you given any assignment at the briefing at the station?
I was assigned to the locations.
But that's it.
Correct, yes.
Your role in the execution was never covered in that briefing.
At the station, correct.
Okay. Was anything else covered in the briefing at the station other than this is where you're going, this is who's going, and we're looking for dope or money or whatever?
There's a lot of things explained. What are you referring to? Exactly?
What else was covered in the briefing at the station with the whiteboard?
It was covered that this would be a knock and announce warrant. It was covered that there would be a heavy-set female there. We were given the task of finding documents, not necessarily drugs. And I'm sure there are other things, but those are the ones that stand out.
Did you ever think to yourself, why are we going in at 12:30 at night looking for documents?
No, that is all. I'm being asked to assist. That planning is above me. That's predetermined.
That's not your role.
Correct.
Right? You're not allowed to question.
I'm allowed to question it. Yes, but that did not come up.
Have you, subsequent to this, wondered why were we going in at 12:30 at night looking for documents?
No, that's part of their planning logic, and I wasn't part of that and haven't been provided any documents as to why they decided to do that.
Do you have any reason why SWAT wasn't consulted?
SWAT was consulted.
Okay.
SWAT was consulted if SWAT was there at certain locations, but I was not part of that.
Do you believe SWAT was consulted on the Springfield warrant the night it was executed?
No, I didn't know if they had or hadn't.
Would that also be information that's not part of your job requirement in this case?
Correct.
Now, we keep going here of, the incident commander will conduct a briefing with all search team personnel. The briefing will include a review of operation and procedures that the search personnel will follow. Okay, now, I think you're saying that occurred in the parking lot. It did not occur at the briefing station.
That's how I remember it, yes.
Okay, what was covered?
Well, are you referring to Lieutenant Hoover, or is that what you're referring to?
Whoever the IC was that will conduct a briefing with all search team personnel.
Are you talking about in the office or in the parking lot?
Either one. Did they cover,
Yes, that was covered. Your task, yes.
okay, the operation and procedure was covered at both the briefing, at the station, and in the parking lot, or just in the parking lot?
The operation, which is the whiteboard, is covered in the office, and then our operation is discussed in the parking lot.
The
So,
procedures
yes.
you're going to use to make entry was discussed in the parking lot.
Correct, yes.
Okay, and that's who's where,
Yes,
who has what equipment,
correct,
right? Whose job is to do everything.
correct.
Now, again, you're planning this out before you execute what you said is an inherently dangerous situation.
Yes.
Is it, can you just change your mind? Once you're assigned a role, can you just say, nah, I don't want to do that, I want to do something different when you get there?
You cannot deviate from the plan. You can talk to folks and tell them why you may want to look at a different angle, but no, if you're given a task, you need to do that task.
Everybody has a job.
Correct.
And if people don't do their job, again, it becomes more dangerous for everybody.
Yes, problems can occur if you don't do any type of job.
Okay? And you all in the parking lot were all assigned a specific job.
Yes.
And what was yours?
My job was what I call perimeter or perimeter security. So folks call it different things, but I'm one of the perimeter individuals.
And that, you understood, that was your job to do.
Correct.
You're not responsible for the RAM.
Correct.
You're not responsible for making first entry.
Correct.
You're not responsible for ballistic shield.
Correct.
You're not responsible for backup of the person with the RAM.
No, that is incorrect. Police work is fluid,
Okay?
and if you see things that need to be corrected, you have a duty to correct them, or to, let other folks know that there isn't something that needs to be corrected or dealt with.
We'll get that. That's what I'm asking is, there came a point in time when you realized that Nobles did not have backup,
Correct.
right? And that was much more important than you guarding the perimeter.
Correct.
So you, at that point in time, realized my job was here, but I need to change jobs because somebody has to back him up.
Correct.
Now, presumably in the parking lot, somebody was assigned the job to back up Nobles.
Correct, presumably, yes.
Because, again, that's a very important part of this entire procedure.
Yes.
And whoever got that assignment wasn't doing it.
Apparently, yes.
And you had to change, in the midst of it, change jobs, so to speak.
Mhm.
And I think whenever you're having to make decisions on the fly on something that's done like this, it makes it more dangerous.
I would say it makes it complicated.
And anytime,
Not necessarily dangerous, but it it makes it a little bit more complicated.
changing a plan in midstream is complicated in itself, isn't it?
Well, the plan wasn't changed. A job was changed.
And who wasn't doing their job? Who was assigned backup for the ramp?
I don't know.
So you were at the briefing. One of the important jobs is backup for the guy actually making entry. And you don't have any idea who was supposed to back him up.
Correct.
This is pretty poor planning in and of itself of the actual entry, isn't it?
Objection, only question.
You can answer.
Not that I don't remember, so it very well could have been planned, but I just don't remember whose job that was.
You don't recall anybody being assigned backup for the guy with the ramp.
Correct.
Now, that is actually one of the procedures that has to be covered in the briefing, isn't it?
I would think so.
Along with who's got the RAM, who goes in first, those type of things.
Yes.
Now, if you'll look at bullet point 2 of the briefing requirements.
An analysis of conditions at the premises utilizing maps and charts and diagrams when appropriate.
Now, did you have any idea the layout of the apartment?
No.
Okay. That would be information that would be helpful, wouldn't it?
If it's available, yes.
And again, do you know if it's available simply by calling the apartment complex and asking for a diagram?
Objection, only question.
Again, that's not my job to do that, so I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if an apartment person can provide us that information in that timely manner either.
Well, again, I'll show you Exhibit 5, which is,
Yeah, what are you asking?
the layout of the apartment.
No, not that, I mean, the earlier bounce around.
Yeah. SOP, LMPD's SOP preparation for search warrant, 8.1.17. Now, wasn't your job to obtain this, correct?
Correct.
Did you ever see one?
No.
Right? You are aware of anybody ever attempting to obtain one?
No.
And again, a scene diagram of where you're going is something that would be beneficial.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And would make again, this is part of the intelligence that you have, makes a dangerous situation less dangerous.
The more information that you have mitigates some dangers, yes.
And again, the requirements of the SOP says an analysis of the conditions at the premises utilizing maps, charts, and diagrams when appropriate. If it's available, it should be information that's provided to you, shouldn't it?
Objection, one more question.
All information should be given to folks that are doing a search warrant if it's available, yes.
And again, if it's not available, then look for it. And if it can't be found, then it can't be found.
Objection, has been answered, and also calls for testimony as witness already stated.
You can answer.
I forgot your question, I'm sorry.
Before you send fellow law enforcement officers into an inherently dangerous situation, you should exhaust reasonable efforts to give them a scene diagram, shouldn't you?
Yes, you should provide as much information as you can to the folks that are working your job.
And failure to provide it puts them at risk.
Failure to provide information to folks working any kind of job is
Dangerous.
dangerous, yes.
And if it's an inherently dangerous job, such as executing a search warrant, it's even more important, isn't it?
Yes.
The next thing the bullet point covers, tactics and equipment that are to be used in the event of a forced entry. And this is supposed to be covered in the briefing. Was that covered?
Yes.
Okay. And again, I think we established you guys didn't do a walkthrough, but did you have any idea that amongst your team there was a ballistic shield?
No. Well, not in the parking lot, no.
Yeah. In the briefing that you guys have regarding tactics and equipment that are used in the event of a forced entry. One of the tactics and equipment is a ram.
Correct.
The other one would be a ballistic shield.
Correct.
Right? And how, to your understanding, how does a ballistic shield work?
So I'm not a trained person on a ballistic shield, so I can give you a layman's version of it, but it is a bulletproof shield. It is inherently complex to operate. You would think it is easy, but it has limited vision. It's heavy. You have to have someone controlling the person who has the shield, giving this person directions. I am not a shield person or what's the term I'm looking for, a shield operator, so I don't know much more than that about a shield.
You've not been trained on it.
I am familiar with it, but not trained to, I would not be comfortable to use a shield.
Yeah, and that's what I'm asking. You've
Yes.
not been trained on using a shield. Have you ever done a search warrant when a shield was used?
Yeah.
Have you ever done a search warrant where the shield was used?
Yes.
Okay. And is it designed for the, after entry is made, the shield goes in first?
No, the shield would go first. That would defeat the purpose of the shield if it's going after, typically.
Yeah, the way it's designed is ram breaks the door if that's required, then the shield goes in regarding to protect anyone from shots.
Yes.
Right. So, and
Typically, yes, that would be, yes.
it doesn't make sense for shield to be last.
Not typically, no.
And in fact, since you've talked about it in some of your interviews, you were upset to learn as you guys were getting ready to go in that you all had a shield available.
Correct, I think I used the word irritated, that we had a shield.
So in the parking lot briefing or the briefing at the station, nobody conveyed to you or to, presumably to anyone else, oh, you guys have somebody with a ballistic shield.
Correct.
And that information would be inherently valuable, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Because that person would go first.
Yes, it would change the plan.
Right? And then as you guys are walking in, and you've already done this plan in the parking lot and the briefing at the station, you look around and you see a guy with a ballistic shield.
Correct.
And it irritated you because we've not re-planned for that at all.
Correct.
And again, that is one of the things that is covered in the SOPs of the tactics that our equipment are to be used in the event of a forced entry. Ballistic shield would be one of those things.
Correct.
And that was never covered.
Correct.
And again, as I keep talking about it, but that made a situation that's already dangerous even more dangerous.
All I knew was that I was not informed of the shield, and that's of utilizing the shield. So when I say I'm irritated, I'm saying that I was not informed of this detail or this part of the plan.
And again, that would be valuable information.
Yes, it would.
And just to be clear, you weren't aware of it because it wasn't covered in the briefing at the station,
Correct.
and it wasn't covered in the briefing in the parking lot.
To my knowledge, it was not.
I mean, you were there, were you there the whole time in the parking lot?
We arrived at staggered times, but yes, yes, I was.
They didn't start the briefing and then you show up halfway through?
No.
Okay. And had it been covered, again, I assume these situations are, you're paying close attention in these briefings.
If you're an intelligent person, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you were paying close attention
Yes.
because you know it's risky.
Yes.
Know your job, know what you're supposed to do.
Correct.
And if it had been covered that, hey, we've got a ballistic shield, you would have noticed that.
Yes.
Okay. It was not covered,
To
was
the
it?
best of my knowledge, it was not.
And again, that could be information that was also obtained in the, or would be contained in a search warrant operations plan.
Yes, it should be.
And one was never done, to your knowledge.
To my, correct.
Objection.
And based on what we've talked about to this point, none of these things that have occurred up till now, did you have any role in? Other than showing up at the briefing and going to do the job that was assigned to you?
Yes.
Okay, like the search warrant, the intel being provided, the lack of a layout, the incident commander or the lead detective not being at the briefing, not knowing who's got a ballistic shield, not knowing exactly how we're going in or whose job. None of those were your responsibility, were they?
Correct. Correct, I did not provide, correct, yes.
And as entry is being, and we'll talk about the knocking and whatnot, but entry is being made into, forced entry is being made into the apartment.
Yes.
And you realize at that point in time, you're doing your job of covering the perimeter. And you realize that someone either was not paying attention in the briefing or didn't get the assignment to cover the guy with the ramp.
I know that someone is not with the ramp. That's all I know.
And I think we covered, that is not something that we would just forget to do. That job would be assigned.
Yes.
Okay? And as you're doing your job of covering the perimeter, you recognize nobody is covering that guy who is really in the most danger of anyone.
In my opinion, yes.
So you take it on yourself to change jobs on the fly and go and cover him.
Correct.
Search warrant preparation.
Correct.
No role in the investigation of Jamarcus Glover. No role in planning the search warrant execution.
Correct.
No role in conducting any of these briefings.
Correct.
None of these things were your responsibility.
That's all I knew.
You didn't know it at the time. You know it now, don't you?
I wouldn't say that, no.
Okay. Now, let's go back to the narcotics SOPs.
Do you want to comment on that? You said you're
I
putting it
do.
as an exhibit. Alright, is that the first? This first one we discussed.
Narcotics SOPs. That's marked as Exhibit 1. Turn to page 42. Okay, right here in the middle of the page, starting at in preparing the affidavit, middle of page 42. What does that say?
In preparing the affidavit, the officer should verify addresses, conduct surveillance or other cooperation, and take other appropriate measures to ensure accuracy of information.
Okay, now I think we talked about part of the accuracy of the information you guys had, there was a heavyset female alone in the apartment.
Correct.
That was false, wasn't it? It was not accurate.
The alone part would not have been accurate.
There was
correct.
someone else there.
Yes.
And that, as we already covered too, that is valuable information to have.
Yes, it is.
Go all the way down to 2.6.3.1, lead detective.
Lead detective prior to serving,
Yeah,
Are you asking me to read out?
yeah,
loud, or you have a
read out
question?
loud. No, read out loud.
lead detective prior to serving the search warrant, the lead detective may request assistance from the tactical operations team with videotaping the location unless exigent circumstances exist. The lead detective is also
Hold on, there was a
responsible.
period there. Okay, so let's stop for a second.
And just to correct the record, he said tactical, it's technical
Technical.
operations.
Technical, my fault, yeah.
So prior to serving the search warrant, the lead detective, who would be Josh Jennings,
Yes, correct.
may request assistance from the technical operations team with videotaping the location unless exigent circumstances exist. Okay? That's what it
Yes.
says. Now, are you aware of any exigent circumstances that prevented that in this case?
I wouldn't have that information, so no.
What is the technical operations team?
I'm not sure. I don't believe I know what it's saying, but I don't think we have a tactical or a technical operations team. We have a unit that does video surveillance, but I'm not exactly sure what they're called.
Did you see any video surveillance of this location before you went to execute the search warrant?
No.
Now, after the period, it says the lead detective. What's that say?
The lead detective is also responsible for the following. Continue.
Yeah.
Number one, notification of the supervisor.
All right,
Two,
stop, let's go one at a time. Are you aware if that occurred?
did the lead detective notify his supervisor? I believe that's obvious from the large group of people that we have there and all the assets that are.
So you believe that
utilized.
occurred based on the briefing and whatnot?
Yes.
Okay, what's the next one?
Completion of the search warrant and risk assessment matrix.
Okay, now, to your knowledge, you never saw one of those.
Correct.
Okay, number three.
Number three, completion of the search warrant checklist.
All right, what is that?
The search warrant checklist would be like as it says, it's a checklist to make sure that you have done certain things. As you said, surveillance. It's similar to the matrix. You're compiling some notes and some evidence and whatnot.
So it's a checklist done to ensure, A, that you're executing a search warrant on a proper place, and B, to ensure the safety of the people executing the search warrant.
Yes.
Okay?
No objection, just the one question, as the witness already testified, he had no role in obtaining the warrant, also testified he wasn't the lead detective, and false respect to issue.
No, right. You said yes. You never saw one of those in this case?
Correct. No.
Right. And then, number four,
Completion of an operations plan.
and as we already covered, you never saw one of those.
Correct.
To your knowledge, one was not performed, or was not completed.
Objection. The state's witness's testimony.
I never saw the operations plan.
Okay. And I think we covered too, according to the SOPs, writing on the whiteboard is not a substitution for the operations plan, which has a specific form under the rules.
The whiteboard would not substitute the form
Okay.
that you're referring to.
Right. What's the next one?
Completion, correction, securing approval of the operation plan.
Okay, so that indicates that you have to prepare an operations plan and then get someone to approve it.
Yes.
Okay? Are you aware if that occurred?
It's obvious that that did occur with all the assets that are available, or that are being utilized that evening. But I don't have information.
Well, if an operations plan wasn't filled out, how could one be approved?
Objection.
I don't believe there is a timeline as to when the operations plan the form has to be turned in, per se. Because these are fluid events. So if I turn in the operations plan right now, and my search warrant doesn't happen for an hour, there may be a plan. So now I'm committed to that form that I've submitted previously.
Well, it's required by policy, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And it can't be done after a search warrant's executed. One of the reasons for it is to protect both public safety and the officers.
I don't know if there's a timeline to when it can be turned in.
It just has to be done before the search warrant is executed.
I believe it has to be done. I believe the form has to be completed.
It has to be completed and has to be approved prior to the service of the search warrant.
This is asking the operations plan, not necessarily the operations form. The form is an administrative form, and that's how I'm looking at it as. The plan would be what I call the whiteboard.
Okay. And again, the SOPs specifically indicate that there's an operations plan form to be used, don't they?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what's the next thing that's required?
Entering pertinent information about the search warrant location into HIDA deconfliction software.
You have any idea if that was performed or not?
No.
Okay. And what's number 7?
7, being present at the pre-service briefing.
Okay. And that would be the whiteboard briefing, correct?
I would think so.
Okay. And Josh James is the lead detective. And to your knowledge, he was not at that briefing, was he?
That's correct. That's how I remember it, yes.
And even though this policy says the lead detective is responsible for being present at the pre-service briefing.
Yes.
Okay. Now, move on down to the supervisor will also verify and approve. And go ahead and just start with them all.
The supervisor will also verify and approve, 1, the completion of an operations plan, 2, that all personnel participating in the execution of the search warrant have been briefed, 3, that information entry has been placed into deconfliction software, 4, that all personnel participating in the enforcement action have signed and dated the operations plan.
Let's stop there.
Number 4.
Let's stop there.
Just no objective line of questioning again. He's not a supervisor. He doesn't have any idea what the supervisors would verify and approve. Also speculation.
Okay. You participated in the enforcement action, didn't you?
Objection.
Which would be the execution of the search warrant.
Correct.
Did you sign and date an operations plan?
No.
That all, no, go ahead.
Number 4, that all personnel have their required equipment, i.e. ballistic vests, weapon, extra magazines, handcuffs, OC spray, ASPS, not sure what that is, and ASP, and reflective armbands. Other equipment such as eye protection and tactical gloves may be necessary for the execution of the search warrant. As each situation will be different, it is at the discretion of the commanding officer in charge of the search warrant detail as to whether this equipment is needed. This does not prevent any personnel assigned to the detail to utilize this equipment at his or her discretion.
Okay. And I think we've already covered of one of the things that you were not aware of was the availability of the ballistic shield until you guys show up at the door.
Correct.
Now, what's the next paragraph? Prior to serving the warrant.
Prior to serving a warrant, the supervisor in charge will conduct a pre-service meeting for personnel assigned to execute the search warrant. During this meeting, personnel will be assigned to search and entry teams.
Right? And you were assigned to one of those search and entry teams, correct?
Yes.
All right. And then what's the next paragraph?
Supervisor is also responsible for reviewing the search warrant checklist and matrix with the lead detective prior to the pre-service meeting. All personnel involved in the execution of the warrant should be present at the pre-service meeting.
Okay, now, the checklist and the matrix, again, we've covered, you never saw either one of those.
Objection, ask the answer.
You can answer.
Correct.
Right? And you never signed and dated an operations plan.
Correct.
All right, go to the next page of the items discussed should include.
Okay. The items discussed should include, but not be limited to, the following: person in charge, location.
Now, you covered the person in charge was Lieutenant Hoover, correct?
Yes.
So that was covered.
Yes. Location, layout of the premises.
Now, the layout of the premises, that was not covered, correct? You had no idea what the layout of the place was when you went there.
Objection.
Correct.
Go ahead.
Layout of the premises, suspect information, weapons, possibility of children present, possibility of disabled persons present, animals present, chemical hazards, environmental hazard, types of odors, fortifications, fences and walls, probable location of evidence, need for EMS, required equipment, i.e. raid jackets, display badges, other identifications, etc., radio frequencies to be utilized, contingency plan. If a detective is seriously injured and a hospital run is required, access route to the closest hospital, alternate breach entry location. This will be noted on the operation plan.
Is that covered?
No. Surveillance conducted prior to entry.
Was that covered?
Yes, we were told that we had a surveillance, that we had Mike Campbell was being the surveillance person.
Was any information from the surveillance conveyed to you?
Not that I remember specifically.
Because, you know, as we said, you believe there was a female there alone.
Correct.
All the way down to the last paragraph here on page 44.
Execution of the search warrant. When executing the search warrant, the lead detective will be in the passenger seat of the lead vehicle in order to lead the search warrant team from the vehicle to the target location.
All right, stop. The lead detective in this case wasn't even there, was he? Josh James
Right.
was the lead detective.
Yes.
He wasn't in the first car going to Springfield, was he?
No, he was not.
He wasn't even at Springfield.
Correct.
Now, you on page 45?
Yes.
All right, let's go all the way down to an officer may break in.
Where do you see that at?
Are you familiar with this page?
Not really, no.
If you feel like you need to review the document prior to answering a question on a specific
Well, but-
sentence, take your time to do it.
That's okay. What are you looking at? Okay.
Right there.
Where are we?
Page 45. Narcotics, SOPs.
An officer may break into and enter any premises or vehicle when necessary for the execution of a search warrant if, number one, the officer has previously announced his or her identity and purpose, reasonably believes that either the admittance is being denied or unreasonably delayed, or that the premises or vehicle is unoccupied.
Number 2.
2, the officer has probable cause to believe that given notice would endanger the life or safety of any person or the destruction of evidence is imminent.
Okay. Now, number 2 did not, in your understanding, number 2 did not apply in this situation.
say that again.
Was it your belief that you all had probable cause to believe that giving notice would endanger the life or safety of any person or the destruction of evidence is imminent? Because you all actually gave notice, correct?
Right, yes.
So 2 did not apply. That's for no.
Yeah, correct.
All right, so let's talk about number 1. May break into and enter any premises if, for the execution of a search warrant, if the officer has previously announced his identity, and you indicated that occurred,
Yes.
all right, and purpose, and reasonably believes either that admittance or being denied. Did you all have any reason to believe that your admittance was being denied?
I'm not sure I understand that correctly. Denying is the door was not being opened, so that is how I would interpret it.
This might be a good time for us to take a break. So ladies and gentlemen, it's 5 till 3. Let's take a recess until 10 after 3, and please remember the separation admonition.